Welcome back to the weekly news Roundup Quicklines edition. We had a debate. Which one of these did we want to talk about? Did we want to talk about the FBI being hacked, you hacks the hackers, or the Geofence warrants are being tested in the Supreme Court? So, of course, we went from the Geofence warrants, which I think is our second article. So if you guys like coming on here and seeing that main article up pretty close, it's pretty close. Let's go ahead and start in. Of course, Meta is sued over AI smart glasses privacy concerns after workers reviewed nudity and other footage. So this is interesting, and after reading this and discussing this with our support guys on our call yesterday, there's something else going on here that is nobody's really mentioning or questioning. So let's go over the fact pattern first, and we will get into the speculation. So there's class action lawsuit over the smart glasses and their lack of privacy. If it turns out that Swedish newspapers found that Kenya-based subcontractors are reviewing footage from customers' glasses, including sensitive content like nudity, people engaging in the horizontal boogie, and using the toilet. Interesting. So Meta claimed it was blurring faces and images, but sources dispute the blurring worked consistently. Don't worry, guys. We know that we just created an unauthorized sex tape of you, but we blurred your images of your face. Come on, maybe. I mean, it might have blurred the lamp next to you, but, you know, that's what they're... So... according to the lawsuits, there's lawsuits in the United States as well as, let's see, plaintiffs in New Jersey and California, represented by Clarkson Law Firm. They allege that Meta violated privacy laws and engaged in false advertising. All of the advertising contained things like designed for privacy, controlled by you, built for your privacy. You know, nowhere did they actually say in there, hey, we send your videos over to Kenya. All right, so in 2025, 7 million people bought the smart glasses. What happened is after the BBC was investigating this, the BBC found in the terms of service for Meta, they said that there's a mention of human review in Meta's AI terms of service. But in the United States, the same policy says, in some cases, Meta will review your interactions with AIs, including the content of your conversations or messages to AIs, and this review may be automated or manual, in other words, human. So the UK one is definitely more clear than the US one. But here's a couple of the advertisements. You're in control of your data and content, privacy settings that matter, power down for peace of mind, an added layer of security. So the problem is that people were using these and not realizing that, you know, their PIN numbers for their ATM machines were going to third-party contractors in Kenya. But don't worry, those contractors, they didn't just pinky promise to not use that data. They also spit shook with the CEO of Facebook. Meta, like Mark Zuckerberg himself, went to Kenya, spit in his hand, and shook the other guy's spit in his hand to pinky promise and spit shake that they would not share any of that data. That is an ironclad contract that will never, ever, ever, ever leak data out because, you know, a bunch of underpaid third world Kenyans were hired to review all of this data. Yeah. Now, what's going on here is that this is actually another statement from the manufacturer. So Ray-Ban glasses help you use AI hands-free to answer questions about the world around you. Unless users choose to share media they've captured with Meta or others, that media stays on the user's device. When people share content with Meta AI, we sometimes use contractors to review this data for purposes of improving people's experience, as many other companies do. We take steps to filter this data to protect people's privacy and to help prevent identifying information from being reviewed. That's their statement. How wonderful. Okay, now let's get into how do you get the videos off of your device. There is no port that you can simply plug your smart glasses in and transfer it to a computer like a digital camera. Every bit of this goes to the app, so you have to install an app on your device. The app syncs with your glasses and allows you to download those photos, videos, whatever else to your phone. And then from there, you can choose to share them to Facebook, or you can, I guess, copy them down. Now, here is where we notice the discrepancy. According to the report, these Kenyan reviewers found actual instances of people engaging in sensitive type of content. Meta says, well, we only share these videos and photos with the contractors if you choose to share them with Meta. So does that mean anything you choose to pull off of your device via the app? Or does this mean anything you share to a Meta platform like Facebook or Instagram or WhatsApp? Well, it clearly is probably not whatever you simply post online. How do we know? I have a sneaky suspicion you're not putting your horizontal boogie, your PIN numbers, or your credit card statements on Facebook. So, it would appear if you want any photo off of that device, it has to be downloaded through the app, and the simple act of downloading it through the app will allow it to potentially be sent to a contractor. So Meta here is most likely lying. I don't have any solid evidence of that, but it doesn't fit the fact pattern that only the things that you choose to share with Meta have human reviewers, and the human reviewers are finding sex, PIN numbers, and credit cards. Something stinks in the state of Denmark. Actually, something stinks in the state of Kenya. But, that happens to be the case. So this is going to be interesting to see what happens. My guess is they're going to settle out of court with an NDA so that they never have to open up what's going on inside the black box of the proprietary app that is Facebook. So there's that. And on to our second story. This is our title story. It's the Supreme Court to decide whether Geofence warrants are constitutional. And if these guys do not come down with a solid 9-0 decision, then our Supreme Court is dead. Not like we're going to go get. No, that's not what I mean. Our Supreme Court is meaningless. That is what I mean to say. Okay, so Google has weighed in. So now we're in a difficult spot because I now have to agree with Google. Google files an amicus brief for the court. If you don't know what an amicus brief is, this is when there's a big case goes like a Supreme Court, then a bunch of people that do not have a dog necessarily in the particular case can file a legal documents with the court to suggest their own professional opinions. So it's common for lawyers to write amicus briefs. So Business Reform is an excellent YouTube channel that's doing a lot of expose stuff on flock. He is writing amicus briefs for every court case involving flock cameras. So he's actually asking people to do public records requests and to send him information for those amicus briefs. And so that is what they're doing. So Google submits an amicus brief saying that these Geofence warrants should be completely unconstitutional because the problem we have is that a warrant is supposed to be obtained when there is a piece of evidence tying somebody to a crime. You go and you put that evidence into a warrant and they sign it off on the judge, and the judge looks it over, allegedly, if they're not rubber stamping it, and they sign off on the warrant, and that allows them to go and target the specific person with either searches or wiretaps or some other means of deeper investigation. That is how you go deeper in looking at something. The problem with a Geofence warrant is when they don't know the person, but they know a location, and so they want to wrap up every person who has come in close proximity to that location. So they'll reach out to Google and say, hey, Google, give me a copy of every device that has been within this particular range. And so the problem here is that you have, they basically had a giant list of people and start probing into this giant list of people, none of which have any evidence against them. Now, this also ties in problems like, what if you're like me and you don't have a Google account on your device? Well, you're going to be invisible to this thing. So the smart criminal, pro-criminal tip is, leave your cell phone at home, put it in a Faraday box, or just don't use Google services at all. And guess what? You won't get caught up in a Geofence warrant. Very interesting. So, if you're relying on that, you're not even going to get caught up. And then some other guy that's completely uninvolved is getting pinned for it because they're not really looking for the guy who did it. They just want a guy that they can claim who did it. All right. And so Google's whole argument here is that they don't have any solid evidence. They're going on a fishing expedition for a person. And that is what they are saying here. So broad set of data about a group of unknown people based on some common behavior. They analyze the data for potential suspects. Proximity is the only criterion. So if you live close to that bank, sorry. Now, in one case, they said, now in this one here, so they're focusing on this case here. Now, I don't know if this guy actually robbed the bank. I don't know if there's other evidence. Now, if this guy robbed the bank, and the Supreme Court comes down and says, yeah, geofence warrants are not appropriate, the only reason they were looking at this guy is because of this, which means every other thing downstream from this has to be thrown out. So if the Supreme Court weighs in, this guy who potentially robbed a bank is getting away with it. Are we okay with a bank robber getting away with it to get rid of a stupid law? Yep. Sorry, bank. Go after him in civil court, I guess, because, if this guy actually did it, it's the same thing with the Pennsylvania court case that we did was a Supreme Court case in Pennsylvania, which did not the geofence warrant, but they did the reverse keyword search warrant. It's effectively the same thing. Tell me everybody who looked for this particular person. Now, there didn't seem to be any real doubt that that crazy person in Pennsylvania actually did the crime, but do I want him arrested because his only crime was actually searching something on Google? I don't really want to. I don't want to rest my hat on that. I'd prefer that they actually get in there, do their real job, do good old-fashioned police work like they used to, and figure out who'd done it. All right. So in this case here, this particular guy who's charged with armed bank robbery in Virginia, his phone showed up in a geofence warrant covering 17.5 acres. That is 3 football fields. Isn't that like 10 city blocks? Anybody who walked within 10 city blocks, they're going to investigate you. That sounds a little unconstitutional to me. So the case has seen a flurry of amicus briefs, which are opinions from the interested expert parties that have no direct involvement in the case. So the one from Google argues the justices should consider the geofence warrants unconstitutional because of their broad scope. It is objected to more than 3,000 of them on constitutional grounds in recent months. So Google's brief stated many of the overboard warrants swept in hundreds, sometimes even thousands of innocent people. State and federal courts have repeatedly granted Google's motions to quash these overbroad warrants. So yeah, maybe we need to get into a situation where we don't have these anymore. So it goes into here. This is how the database is built. So from the timeline feature, this collects data from GPS, so keep those location off. Wi-Fi networks, keep that off. Bluetooth, keep that off. Mobile signals, you'll have a hard time keeping that off unless you don't want to receive phone calls at all, including when Google apps are not being used. Now, Google actually says that because of these warrants in July of 2025, what Google did is they actually are not pulling all this information into the servers. They're keeping most of this information actually on your device, which is actually interesting that Google right now is not collecting as much data on their servers on you as they could be. They're relying on the apps doing the internal communication for them, and they pretty much think it's not causing too much loss of revenue for them in the way the model works. This is actually good in some ways, but it prevents people from being in that database. But if you have something that is constantly sharing your location data back, then you will get caught up inside that database. So what happened in this particular case here is there's a warrant that kept on growing and growing. So this is the amicus brief from the Center for Democracy and Technology filed the case. It said Google's standard response to the warrants had 3 steps. First, it would deliver an anonymized list of devices inside the geofence. Then police could ask for movement data on chosen devices of interest, which would then track them outside the geographic boundary and beyond the original time window. And then finally, without any further judicial review, police Police could ask for subscriber identifying information for whatever devices the police choose to unmask. So they get a list of maybe 1,000 people who've come in proximity to that bank in the period of time they're investigating. Well, they can go back and say, okay, give us more information on these 500 devices. So now they're watching 500 devices walking around the world, and that's kind of problematic. So CDT argues in the brief that this can expose the privacy of people going about their everyday lives, engaging in legal activities that they may not want others to know about. The warrant had scooped up Chartres, included a hotel and a restaurant. So anybody going to that hotel, anybody going to that restaurant are caught up in that Geofence warrant. Google successfully challenged a warrant asking for the location history of anyone in large portions of San Francisco for 2.5 days. Google complained in its brief that no court would authorize a physical search of hundreds of people or places, yet Geofence warrants sometimes do this by design. So, of course, what can you do? You do have to turn off both location history and web app activity. You have to turn them both off. Turning one off does not automatically do the other. I have a better solution. Graphene OS, and don't install Google Play services. There's a thought. Okay. They also may not stop at location data. So CDT brief warns that if courts endorse the logic behind the Geofence warrants, law enforcement may try to apply the same approach to other large data sets. In fact, there is, they did mention here that DHS has already filed a warrant for information on ChatGPT users. So if you can file blind warrants looking for who has asked certain questions of a chatbot, that is a bigger problem. Of course, that's very much like the reverse search warrant, the keyword search warrant that we talked about from Pennsylvania a few months ago. So that's very interesting. All right. Moving on, of course, the FBI was hacked. So this is not, some people were reporting that this is like a wiretapping service. No, that already happened. That was Salt Typhoon. They got in through the means that the FBI uses to wiretap people. That was Salt Typhoon. This is actually completely different. This is just a good old run-of-the-mill FBI database that basically contained a lot of sensitive data for current and past investigations. This was breached. Now, they actually found the breach pretty quickly. So they said they found suspicious activity affecting internal system that stores sensitive data tied to surveillance operations and investigations. So this is not some backdoor system. This is basically a database of reports, all that police paperwork. So what they found is February 17th, they found abnormal log activity. Although the system is unclassified, it stores law enforcement sensitive data, including surveillance records from legal tools such as pen register and trap and trace orders, along with personally identifiable information linked to investigations. So the FBI noted the attackers used sophisticated techniques, including exploiting commercial ISP infrastructure reflecting long-standing foreign targets of U.S. federal agencies. So basically espionage from state actors. They did find it and solve it pretty quickly, but they're investigating who got into the hack. So, yeah, not even the government's safe. But there you go. It takes a couple of gonads there to hack in the FBI. Probably no American citizen's going to do that. That would kind of be stupid. But I guess people do stupid all the time. Well, Amazon officially launches its healthcare AI assistant, and I just can't think of anything more terrifying than handing all of my health data into the Amazon's AI app. Ugh, talk about crazy. So they're expanding access to its healthcare AI assistant on the website and on the app. It's called Health AI. Previously only available for to the app for One Medical, which Amazon, of course, bought a couple years ago. We probably talked about that. Health AI can answer questions, explain health records, manage prescription renewals, book appointments, and more. You know, giving Amazon all this information that you could probably research yourself with a Tor connection to not tie it back to you directly. You know, what is this crazy thing growing on my foot? That's probably not something I want to search on a clarinet. I'd like to look that up on Tor. Thank you very much. So you see, there's legitimate uses for Tor as well. I mean, I use it all the time to look up that weird thing on my foot. You know, I mean, I'm not saying I have a weird thing on my foot, but you know, I wouldn't touch it, you know. All right. So Amazon says it trains health AI models on abstracted data patterns without directly identifying information. So, you know, that information that can easily be de-anonymized. They effectively say that it does this by if more than a certain number of, in fact, they actually said like If multiple patients ask about a medical interaction, Amazon might use these patterns while keeping the names private. Never mind that Amazon knows, especially since you're asking the thing and getting discounts on the prescription fills, they kind of know who to look for, because how many people are going to Amazon asking about this drug interaction and then also ordering the same product from Amazon? This data is too easy to be anonymized, all right? Now, they did actually say the company has all interactions with health AI happen within a HIPAA-compliant environment, and the conversations are protected by encryption and strict access controls, they said. Only authorized personnel who need access to perform specific HIPAA-allowed job functions, such as service, maintenance, clinical quality assurance, and addressing technical issues, can view the conversational data. And they have also pinky promised and split chook with the guys in Kenya over this. I mean, no, I'm not saying they're out of Kenya. I'm just saying this is Amazon. They are not bringing in super high-paid, super qualified technicians to manage this HIPAA stuff. It's not going to be long before we see that third world contractors were the ones actually allowed this stuff. But they pinky promised and had a spit shook. So there's absolutely no sharing of this data. I mean, this is totally protected. Totally protected. I mean, how did those tapes leak out of Kenya from Facebook anyway? So with a user's permission, Health AI gets access to their health information. So now Amazon can have access to all of your health data. Utilizing the Health Information Exchange, which should be completely illegal and abolished, but it's not. It's a centralized database of everybody's health information. Oh dear! And now you can give it to Amazon. How much you want to bet that just by using this thing, Amazon gets your express permission? Yeah, it's with a user's permission, which is buried on page 192 of the terms of service that you agreed to. Again, I haven't read the terms of service for this. I'm just kind of making fun with how these companies usually do it, because usually with a user's permission usually means it's tied up in that check mark that you swear that you read. So, of course, how's my cholesterol looking? Oh, at 72 milligrams per deciliter, your cholesterol is well within the healthy range. That's something you could have looked up on Tor without tying it to your identity. You know what I mean? So there you have it. Health AI can connect you to one medical provider. So there you go. Now Amazon is utilizing its Health AI to tie you into a particular corporatized conglomerate of healthcare providers to maximize their profits and minimize your care. Probably giving you the lowest possible price. So, good luck with your Dollar General healthcare treatment, I guess. Users can ask questions like, can you explain my recent cholesterol relates and what it means for me? I'm feeling congested and have a sore throat. What should I do? These are not things you need to ask to an AI. Dear. But you know it. People are going to be all over this. Oh, I just asked the AI health. Yeah. There's a meme I saw going around on, I think it was on Twitter today, I think. Maybe it was on our Matrix server. I don't know. I think it was on our Matrix server. Hey, ChatGPT, is this mushroom edible? And yes, that's edible. So the next one is the ChatGPT AI saying that's a gravestone. Hey, you said that was edible. I'm so sorry for that mistake. I guess it's not edible after all. Thank you. All right, well, if you're taking quiz sites, this was a curious one. So Malwarebytes kept getting complaints that they had malware on their systems, but malware was not being detected by Malwarebytes. So they started looking into this, and what ends up happening is this is a new form of malicious activity that effectively you're going on to these websites. I guess if you're stupid enough to fall for one of these let's take a quiz scams, you probably deserve this happening. But instead of actually installing malware on your device, what they were doing instead is they were subliminally popping up notifications for a lot of weird and random scummy websites. Now, of course, once you have clicked allow notifications for a site, even if you're not on that site, the site can still send you notifications because it allows a constant connection between that website and your browser. This is why I completely and permanently disable all browser notifications. I do not want any backend accesses. If I want to know what's going on in the website, I will go to the website. I do not need a notification to tell me something is new. I'm logging over there. So-and-so has published a new blog post. I don't care because I'm not on that website right now. Thank you. All right. So what was going on here is when customers provide screenshots, malware removal support team quickly recognized them as web push notifications. The reason the scans came up clean is that these notifications are not malware on the devices. They're browser notifications from websites that trick users into clicking allow. Okay, so these are what some of these look like here. So these are web push notifications. So you can see that these are the websites that they have agreed to receive web notifications from. And of course, the web notifications will now allow you to quickly get in here and push this button here. All right. So we started with one of the most prevalent domains. Was it upshivy.co .in? I don't know. But we found it was a misleading advertisement that promised the AdGuard browser extension and instead led to the pop-up blocker. All right, so this one here, your browser extension may be outdated. If you click continue below, you'll be taken to the store where you can update AdGuard browser extension. If you do not already have the browser extension, you can download it or navigate it to your destination. The extension provides you with a safer web search by giving you control over the search across different providers. So if you clicked on this guy here, it would basically go and start a quiz. And by doing this, you would accept the browser notifications from these random sites, and effectively you'd be getting push notifications that the push notifications would give you stuff. So once you've subscribed to the notifications on the site, now they can send you all sorts of weird stuff and it doesn't look like malware. So that was kind of a brilliant little thing. Now they walk through here how to disable those. In Chrome, if you're using that, switch to a better browser. Of course, any Chromium-based browser like Brave, Vivaldi, things like that would do the same thing. You go into your settings menu, privacy, security, site settings, notifications, and then sites can send you notifications and don't allow them to send them. In Firefox, you can actually completely turn them all off entirely. I actually have this in my group policy for Firefox. I just block it all immediately. And so there's on Edge, there's on Safari, and here's the indicators of the compromise. There's just a bunch of those basic sites there. All right, calling all people whose information is inside of data brokers. Cognizant, this is a provider for tech data stuff. So this is one that you may be involved in this and you had no idea you were involved in this. All right. So this is a company that provides solutions, exposed sensitive information belonging. Okay, what is it? Healthcare technology provider that develops software and services for medical practices, hospitals, and insurers. Includes tools for billing, revenue cycle management, claims processing, and administrative workflows used across the healthcare ecosystem. Well, they had a breach of 3.4 million patients, and they basically were able to steal an identity theft package. They're going to use your information to identify themselves on Google's new verified developer platform to upload malware. So the feds will kick your door in instead of the actual guy publishing it. Why not, right? Investigation revealed that starting in November of 2024, unauthorized actor accessed records linked to insurance eligibility verification. The firm engaged in cybersecurity experts, notified law enforcement, and began informing providers in, isn't that wonderful, 13 months later. So around November 28th, they determined the breach may have exposed personal and health data, including names, addresses, birth rates, social security numbers, insurance details, and provider information. And don't you love it how all these guys are like, financial data was not affected. No identity theft or fraud it's linked to has been reported so far. Okay, can we stop putting this in? Number one, if you steal my financial data, I'd rather you steal that than anything else because I can simply change my credit card number. It's the easiest thing to steal. But these companies, they all seem to think that stealing your credit card data is the worst thing that could possibly happen. And then, of course, they have the sheer stupidity to sit here and be like, And then no identity theft or fraud has been linked. No kidding, it just happened, you retard. It takes a while. It's going to happen in 3 years after the free service to your credit monitoring nonsense that doesn't even work triggers. That's when it's going to happen. So this company here should be shut down. They should take all of its assets, strip all of its assets away, distribute it all among them, throw every one of the directors in this company, just get rid of them. We need to do that for any company that leaks this much data, especially if you've never done direct business with them. I'm sorry, but it was my health insurance company used them. Way to pass the buck, you moron. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. We need to stop relying on third parties for stuff. But we can't put this infrastructure together. Well, then, you know what? Maybe you should hire somebody who can. We need to stop relying on third-party companies. A company like this ends up getting millions and millions of records because they're offering some stupid, insecure third-party research to somebody because they don't have a competent person who could do something like this. And they're like, hey, as long as it works, it works. And you just don't realize that one guy can break in there and steal it all. Or you're just too stupid to secure any of it, like LexisNexis. These guys here, this one here needs completely thrown away. All their directors need thrown in jail. All the people who've invested in this company need their assets stripped and paid off the national debt with it. After, of course, you paid millions of dollars each to every person. Because, who've done business with LexisNexis? Oh, none of you? Whose data's in LexisNexis? Oh, all of you? Yeah. LexisNexis is one of the data brokers. Their biggest claim to fame more recently is they're the ones that had collected all of your driving data from the free apps that you've installed on your cell phones and then sold it to your car insurance companies to cause your rates to go up. This is that company. Aren't you happy they exist? You've never done business with them, but you listen to some weird podcaster on the internet who said, download Gas Buddy, it'll show you the cheapest gas. Guys, I travel around the country in a van and I can find the cheapest gas without a stupid app on my phone. Okay, it ain't hard. Stop being lazy. And stop giving all of your driving data to some stupid company to download a free app on your phone. That also has to have, it's got to have Bluetooth and location and Wi-Fi. It's all got to be turned on. Why? Because we need those sweet gyroscopic sensors to know how fast you're braking. Nobody wanted to install this dystopian black box in your car that fed directly into your insurance company, so we put it in the phone app instead. Stop installing apps, people. But LexisNexis collected that data, among other things. And what they ended up doing is for 6 months, they chose not to install an update to a back-end piece of software. This is pure negligence. Your data is probably caught up in this. Millions of records leak out of LexisNexis because they chose not to patch a software bug. 4 million database records, thousands of accounts, password hashes, cloud records. The company admitted the hackers gained access by exploiting an unpatched React vulnerability. They provide legal and data analytics services to governments and corporate organizations, to 150 companies. They saw more than 2 gigabytes of data stolen, dumped on several dark web platforms like by FulcrumSec, which is a hacker group. All right, so the vulnerability for the React system came out. It became made public in 2025. The patch was already available. The company continued running an outdated version of the software, leading to tons of data leaks. Okay, this company, terminate the company, throw every executive in jail, strip them of all of their assets, and distribute it widely among everybody's data who leaked. Shut them down. This business has demonstrated incompetence that they are not capable of handling anybody's information. You're going to run insecure software because it's going to save you like $10 or something. Arrest them all. Throw them in jail. Throw away the key. Strip them of their assets. We're done. You want to deal around with other people's data and not secure it? You do not deserve freedom anymore. And governments, ban this as business. Ban the whole data broker industry. We don't need it. Nobody should have any information to any other human being unless there is a direct consented business relationship between them. Period. But we couldn't provide our service without them. Then I guess you shouldn't provide a service. you're too incompetent to do so. You know what I mean? All right. Well, I'm on fire now. Am I a crazy guy yelling into a camera or what? I don't know. I'm really calm and quiet in person. It's kind of funny. All right. Well, this one's making its rounds again. Y'all remember this one? You know, the old sextortion scam. I recorded you, you pervert. They all start out, hey, pervert. Remember that one? This one's coming back. Well, now they're actually adding some credibility by including a password that actually belongs to the target. So, of course, they're scraping around the internet, finding leaked passwords, finding something, tying it back to you directly, and proving that they really did hack your stuff because of this. I mean, jokes on them. I never do this to a camera with a computer. Okay, no, I'm kidding. All right. But anyway, the email goes out, right? Your device was compromised. Actually, I think they have that here. Your device was compromised by my private malware. An outdated browser makes you vulnerable. Simply visiting a malicious website containing my iframe can result in automatic infection. This is a drive-by exploit. Of course, if you actually search for this, you'll find something like this. So they say, well, this grants me full access to your account, complete control of your device, and the ability to monitor your camera. If you believe this is no joke, I know your password. And they'll actually give you a password here. This is the new line of their email. So this has been going around for a long time. This is their new line. I've collected all your private data and recorded footage of you through your camera. Okay. So this is like one of the same types of scams that it's like they send out the mass scams to the Amazon because the vast majority of emails that receive that have an Amazon account. And so you get scared in thinking this is the case. Well, there are, believe it or not, a large chunk of people who engage in such behaviors on the internet. Now, how do I know this is not legitimate? Because I have never engaged in such activities on my computer. Thank you very much. So I know this is not true of me, but with the large number of people who have actually engaged in these behaviors, you get caught off on this because you're thinking, what if it's actually true? What if it's actually true? What if they did actually catch me? And you don't know the difference. Well, you might, of course, they want $800 in Bitcoin, of course. And then they tell you reputable places you can exchange your currency for Bitcoin. There you go. So you can actually get it. So there's where they actually have them there. So, you know, that's beautiful. And then they give you the Bitcoin address to send it to. And that Bitcoin wallet at this time has received one payment. So somebody fell for this. Somebody thought that their illicit activities were captured online. Upon receipt of the payment, I will remove all traces of my malware, and you can resume your normal life peacefully. All right. So where they think the passwords came from is fake mail generator. This is what they allege. I don't know. I think there's a number of different places you can access people's passwords on the internet. So, you know, any type of breach which would have given access to a password hash or something would probably qualify. They allege it's fake mail generator is a free disposable service that gives users temporary receive only. But what they found here is that the mailboxes, you could play around and get into people's other mailboxes. If somebody had a password, like their explanation of fake mail generator makes no sense to me. I would expect better from Malwarebytes, and they didn't really give any solid evidence of this. That was their speculation. I just think the guy bought a bunch of leaked passwords on the internet. So, that's interesting. So, you know, there's an update to that one. So, y'all might get those ones coming down there. Like I said, jokes on them. I've never done that to a computer with a camera on it. What are you talking about? And this is a final one. This is a neat study. So this was actually from a year ago, but it is making its rounds again because the guy that wants to live forever, he has actually made this come back around here. So this is actually a report, and I actually read this whole report. This is from the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science Nexus. And what they actually found is that just having your phone, like the average typical person on a phone checks their phone 186 times a day. That's an interruption every 5 minutes, which means that you're constantly interrupting your day to check on your device. And they did a study looking at a number of different people, splitting them into a group that had a device that that only allow, like, I think it blocked all internet on their phone, and the other group had free access to their phone. And what ended up happening is that just 2 weeks without a smartphone caused people's brains to go backwards in time about 10 years. Like, your brain got a decade younger after only 2 weeks of not having a smartphone, which kind of explains how retarded our whole world has become. We have just become a nation of idiocracy already, and it's only getting worse. In fact, another marker, a huge marker, was mental health. Think of how much mental health problems we have going around our internet right now. I mean, some mentally ill psychopath decided that he wanted to take a 20-page single-spaced hit piece against me while ignoring every bit of information about me on the internet to make me into some crazy enemy person and do a giant hit piece about it. That takes an extraordinarily mentally ill person. All right. I don't know who the guy is, and other than his fake internet name hiding behind an anime avatar, nor does the guy know me in person, which is mentally ill. But I promise you, that guy is a young person. He's addicted to a phone, and he needs somebody to call the mental health awareness phone number because he needs help. All right. But that's the type of thing that happens. Mental illness is breaking out in our culture, and it's caused by this. Markers for mental illness drop dramatically after only 2 weeks without a smartphone. Guys, get rid of the smartphone. So Brian Johnson writes, the average person checks a phone 186 times a day, interrupts every 5 minutes. This shrinks the brain, causes lost capacity for deep reasoning and sustained thought, and deep focus strengthens neural networks and complex thought. Which is why I've always still been an independent thinker. I have smartphones, but I'm not addicted to them. There's days I don't even touch the thing. There's days I forget I even have it unless it rings or something. Or I look down like, oh, it's time for me to look up news articles. It's like the only thing non-communication I do on my phone. I look up the news articles for this show. I don't even read them on the phone. I just look them up by title and filter them into a list that I can read later. So 2 weeks away from your smartphone makes your brain 10 years younger and dramatically improves your attention span. So think about that if you have issues. So there is a link to the study here. At that link, you can actually download the whole paper and read it yourself. And of course, you can get this article in the show notes and the description of the video. So there are, of course, some comments on the internet. I'm starting to think smartphones were not a good innovation on balance. There you go. A sect of humanity is about to reclaim their lives. This is going to be a big movement like homeschooling, zero technology, and zero social media. A wrong thing, it's easier now than before because social media is run by AI bots and real people don't respond to it as much. There you go, right? So people think we are absolutely nuts, and my kids have basically never touched a smartphone, and they're the only kids I know that don't have any school on the computer. I truly pray that within a decade or so, this will become the norm again. Certain technologies become the great enemy of our well-being, and this is very true. Maybe Mom was right. It really was the phone. It's time to go back. All right. All right, so there is our Quicklines. We have 2 Sillyville articles to cover. All right, guys. So first up, of course, cars are getting more and more weird subscription services all over the place. All right. So who needs subscriptions when Ford is charging you $500 to use the frunk? That's right. There is a empty hole of empty cargo space that could be utilized in the front of your vehicle. But if you want to use it, you have to pay them an extra $500. So it's built into the car. But in order to open that thing up, to actually be able to use the empty space, you have to pay them $500. Okay, now my conspiracy theory brain is going weird places. What if upon delivery of the factory, they're like, they stuff your dead body in there and you don't know about it because you can't open the thing up. Now you're driving around with a corpse in your car. It starts to stink really bad. And police like, what's going on? And they're like, hey, open that trunk for us. You're like, I'm sorry, I can't. I didn't pay the $500 subscription. Like, what if you're crossing a country border? You're going up to Canada, you're going down to Mexico, and the customs is like, hey, could you pop your trunk for me? Like, hey, this thing has a frunk. Pop it. Sorry, I didn't pay the $500. I can't open it. Excuse me, sir. We're going to come over here and disassemble your whole car. We think you're lying to you. All right. Think about this one. These are all like electronic-based cars. They always know where it is. They're sending data back to the company. Now envision there's a rogue employee inside the company that has a listing of all these cars that have not paid the frunk fee. So you can't open it up. So what they do is they contract with the Mexican drug cartel. And they're like, hey, we know where this car is, and they don't have access to the frunk. So in the middle of the night, about 3 a.m., they come down with a special key fob that was handed in by the insider, who just pops a button, opens the frunk, and throws the cocaine in the front. All right, they close the thing back down. You can't access it. You don't know what's in there. You drive yourself across town, hour or so commute up the interstate up there. You park there for work. Maybe you go inside the parking garage, and then the other cartel on the other receiving end comes in and clicks the button and opens up, and you have just transported these drugs, and you had no idea because you can't even access your frunk. But I bet that some crazy rogue insider of the company can. So this is going weird places, folks. We're in a crazy world where there is empty space in your vehicle that you can't put something in unless you've given the company $500. Will you people stop buying this crap? Oh, dear. Oh, dear. No longer the standard kit. Why? Well, we have found that nobody's using it. What? So Ford, now this raises another concern, okay? Ford apparently knows how often you open your frunk. Does Ford need to know how often you open your frunk or your trunk or anything else? No, but every time you open that bad boy up, some marker went back. Hey, such and such a car, such and such a model, owned by such and such a guy at such and such a place. Open such and such a device on the car. Oh, that should be illegal. Can we go back to like 1990? I like to relive 90, 2000, maybe 2010 was kind of okay, but that was getting a little shady in there, especially in the middle of the year. I don't know. But can we go back to like 1990? It was a much better time back then. What do you guys think? And, of course, it wouldn't be the world if we didn't get Doom to run on something else like a computer chip fused with human brain cells. And curiously, the researchers found it picked up Doom and decided to start killing things pretty quickly. The Borg is here, I see. Man-made horrors, eventually, unfortunately, within my comprehension. There you go. So, I don't know if there's music on this, but let's see what we got going on. I don't know. There's Doom stuff going on there. So, yeah, they're playing Doom on a computer comprised of human brain cells. There's the interface. Here's the actual brain chip. So there you go. A computer that is combined with neurons grown from human cells. You best start believing in cyberpunk dystopias. You're in one. There you go. Thank you, Barbosa. All right. So, we now live in a world. Do these scientists not hear themselves? We don't know how the cyborg abomination we've created knows how to shoot guns and slaughter its foes to achieve its objectives, but look how much progress we've made. It's kind of terrifying. So there's a whole video about it. Again, you can get the links down here. At this point, I'm wondering how far God will let us go before we just destroy ourselves. There you go. So there is our Sillyville. If you want to read some more about crazy dystopian science fiction there, I do have the book Code Red, tlm.li/Code Red. You can have a look at that book over there. That'll land you on this page. You can get the ISBN over here. Anywhere you can buy books online. We have print books, ebooks, and audiobooks available. We have some open source options and, of course, some tied to those platforms because, that's the way we roll. So you can find that book. It is 10 short stories looking at dystopic ways. Here's actually the 10 of them. Digital Madness. I am watching Central Bank Digital Control. Goldfinger, The Cars Have Eyes, Lockdown, Smart Control, iDNA, In Your Dreams, Data Cell. So there are a bunch of stories there. You can actually read the preamble about it there as well. And you can actually read the first bit of, I think that's the first section of Digital Madness. You can have a look at that over on the website. Thanks for watching, and we will see you all next time.